If you take it back, you can rejoin our alliance.
Take back what?
The N-word.
Total Drama Island. Oh boy. The start of one of the most revered animated series of all time, spanning nearly 20 years of content. A show that spawned 7 more seasons, 2 spin-offs, and one of the most rabid fan bases on the net. Heck, if you've ever seen one of my most popular videos, it's because of the love that stemmed from this first season of television. Naturally, because I covered the other seasons of Total Drama, I got a fair share of comments asking me to talk about Total Drama Island in the same analytical way that I did for All Stars or Pacateo or World Tour. But to be honest, I kinda don't wanna? Not only because Total Drama Island might objectively be the best season overall, and you can leave an angry comment down below about how wrong I am for that, but I already get enough comments about how negative I am in my reviews, particularly my earlier ones. And don't even get me started about the Total Drama Discord, bro. They hate me in there for some reason. So I figured instead of doing a super in-depth review, I'd do something new. Today, I'm gonna tell you guys what I think are the best and worst parts of every episode of Total Drama Island. I haven't really seen this format done for Total Drama before, so I'm excited to try something a bit different for the channel. Enough chit chat though, make sure y'all like and subscribe because when I hit 10K, I got a super special Total Drama video for you guys that's gonna blow y'all out of the water. Socials are on screen too, so drop a follow or a dono if you want to see more content like this. Without further ado, let's start our deep dive into TDI with Number 1, The Not So Great Outdoors, Part 1. The best part about this episode is definitely the atmosphere. It's so refreshing to watch back this first episode and see the beginning of what would later become a staple in animation history. After having done so many videos doing in-depth breakdowns and retrospectives about Total Drama, there's no expectations to be better than its predecessor, nor convoluted love triangles or writing plot holes that hold these characters back. This is the first time the OG cast is shown on camera. It's almost like a time capsule to see their first on-screen interactions. I adore the serious yet jokey tone the episode holds as well. It manages to convey all the rules that Total Drama would abide by as the season goes on, while still having time to introduce all of our favorite characters we'd come to know and love. The worst part here? Easily the pacing. Despite being such a tightly explained and concise first episode for the show, explaining all the rules and such, the pacing for the Not So Great Outdoors Part 1 is deathly slow, with every single camper getting introduced one by one, to every camper getting named off slowly for their team one by one. There are several moments that just drag on. I feel like Revenge of the Island, hell even, and I can't believe I'm about to say this, Pacateo Island, had more interesting introductions that allowed the audience to get a basic run through of the cast while also having them do something engaging, i.e. having to swim back to shore from the exploded boat or navigating out of an exploded plane. Chris McClain really has a kink for blowing stuff up, doesn't he? Number 2, The Not So Great Outdoors Part 2. While I was tempted to give the best moment to the back and forth rivalry between Heather and Lashana, one of my favorite ongoing beefs in the series, I decided on the first elimination ceremony ever instead. Naturally, the progression of Total Drama would lean away from having such long, dragged out eliminations, but honestly, the suspense was at an all-time high for Island, and I wish they managed to capture that suspense again with later installments. As for the worst part, there's a couple options here. I was gonna go with either Zeke's misogynist speech that got him canned, seriously, saying boys are better than girls in the Big 26? What is this, Teen Titans Go? Or the scene of Sadie farting in the water because
Oops.
That's nasty, man!
But ultimately, I went simple and just said the lack of stakes in the challenge. Once the Screaming Gophers win the first half of the challenge, the rest of the episode is pretty dry, unlike Sadie's butt. From the start of the following challenge up until the end where the Killer Bass's poor excuse of a hot tub collapses, it's pretty obvious that their team is gonna lose. Number 3, The Big Sleep. My close second picks for best moment would be a tie between all the Gwent scenes in the episode and both of the ridiculous costumes that Chef has to wear for the challenge. But the clear-cut winner is the making of Total Drama's first official alliance. Very fitting that Heather would be the first contestant to make a strategic move as such. Again, just like with the first elimination ever, this scene with Heather, Lindsay, and Beth feels so classic Total Drama. She couldn't have picked 2 better people in her team to be in an alliance. Watching the 2 be ecstatic about the possibility of being in the final 3 is so comical, especially considering that Beth wouldn't make it to the finals until the following season, and Lindsay wouldn't make the podium ever in her 4 seasons of playing. I couldn't really think of a worse part since this episode was pretty solid, so I figured I'd use this time to instead complain about the censorship of the show. It's a problem that's in every episode. I grew up watching the uncensored version, so even the little stuff like them changing shut up to shut it is noticeable and very irking. Like, what was the difference? Is shut up the gateway almost cuss word as opposed to shut it? But it gets to the point where the censorship is literally ruining jokes in the show. Like this beaver joke.
The beaver. National symbol and a damn fine hat.
It's nice, but because even that is too much for tweens to handle, they changed it to
And a real fine hat.
which makes no sense. Yeah, go ahead and censor the word crap, guys, but leave Heather's whole, pale, teenage boobies on screen and that's fine. Obviously it's censored there, but if they were willing to cut the Statue of Liberty boob scene from World Tour, I would have been adamant about cutting this scene first. God, out of context, I must sound like a crazy person. Number 4, Dodgeball. As iconic as it was watching Cody dominate the first round of Dodgeball, undoubtedly this episode belongs to Harold and Lindsay. All of Lindsay's lines here are hilarious. Watching her get trucked with dodgeballs always makes me giggle. My favorite joke in the episode is the one where Courtney tells Tyler not to talk to Lindsay because she could be sharing all their team's juicy secrets. And meanwhile, Lindsay's in a world of her own, dude. Harold's a barrel of laughs too, from his drawn-on mustache to demonstrating one of his many mad skills on the court. He's always been in my top 5 characters of all time, and here he's really in his element. Try as I may, I couldn't find anything wrong about this episode. Pretty early in the video to be giving up, I know. The only thing I could find of note is when Courtney says,
Because, other than Trent, you're the worst at dodgeball.
when I think she meant to say Tyler? Either that or Courtney has some weird Trent vendetta that's gone unnoticed all these years. Number 5, not quite famous. Best part, Harold, obviously. Without a doubt, the best, most talented performance of the episode. Unabashedly awesome. I don't know what crack they snorted when they made Harold just cook up like that, but they need to share. Booyah indeed.
Booyah.
Getting to the worst though, there's hella contenders here, take your pick. Cody creeping on Gwen was pretty uncomfortable, as was watching Bridget blow chunks on everyone at the talent show. I know the show would get wilder and nastier after this, but even for the first season standards, it's pretty excessive. Ultimately though, Heather reading Gwen's diary was the worst part of this episode. She doesn't really have a strategic reason or even some kind of revenge-fueled reason to read Gwen's diary, she just does it. To add insult to injury, they never even tell us how many points Heather got for that ASMR, ruining your island relationships for no reason POV, so she pretty much loses her team the challenge. And yet somehow they decide to keep Heather and vote Justin of all people, who was actually in the talent show and had a fair bit of points himself. Number 6, the sucky outdoors. Best part of the episode, this joke.
We could have actually slept in our tent.
But nah, seriously, the best part here is the horror story from Duncan. The challenge is pretty plain, just a regular old camping experience, so of course Duncan would come loaded with a scary story to keep with tradition. His trolling of Courtney the entire episode was pretty funny as well. Worst part of this episode, just give it to Katie and Sadie. 2 nothing characters who take up a chunk of this episode just being loud and obnoxious. Goodbye and good riddance. Number 7, phobia factor. Lindsay and Sadie wearing what would become Heather's iconic wig when they said their phobias were bad haircuts is both a hilarious joke and unfortunate foreshadowing for later events in this season. That being said, despite Duncan's irrational fear of Celine Dion music store standees being both confusing and ridiculous, I think my favorite part was just seeing both teams around the campfire. Maybe it's just me, but there aren't that many total drama moments I can think of where 2 teams are cool enough with each other where they can just hang out together, especially after just losing a challenge. It's one of those classic total drama scenes that feels like an experience that everyone's had in their real life. Worst part of the episode, Courtney not doing her challenge. Of course, this is more of a character flaw than a direct flaw with the show, but it was so disappointing to see Courtney do all that whining about her team not chickening out on their challenges, only to chicken out on her own phobia challenge. Not only that, but this is another episode where Courtney was the reason the Killer Bass lost, yet managed to narrowly avoid elimination again. Number 8, Up the Creek. Almost gave it to Cody setting up Trent and Gwen, but because of his creepy persistence and him trying to use Gwen's bra in a bet with Owen, I'm not gonna give him any points just cause Gwen was nice enough to let him have it. My favorite part was actually another duo, DJ and Jeff. DJ's character was never the same after the first season. They reduced him to a constantly fearful mama's boy in Action and World Tour, but here in Island, he's the lovable, gentle giant with a heart of gold. And Up the Creek is his first real display of his subtle charm. Between him getting over his fear of swimming to lead his team to victory, and helping Jeff secure Bridget since he's awful at flirting,
You pitch a tent like a guy.
this is one of my favorite episodes that DJ's a main star of. Another solid episode that I couldn't find an outrageously bad part for, so I gave it to Trent acting like he didn't know that Gwen wanted him. I wanted to make some kind of excuse as to why Trent wouldn't have thought that Gwen liked him already, but the girl literally got her diary entry read about him on national TV.
It's international, Jeff. Total drama is seen all over the world.
I guess after the events of Phobia Factor, with him forgetting to unbury Gwen and all, he might have thought that she didn't like him anymore, but he tries to threaten Cody when he spills that Gwen likes Trent, as if that were some sort of surprise.
If you're lying trying, I could easily rearrange your face.
Like, how could you have not possibly known? Number 9, Paintball Deer Hunter. I thought it was interesting how Cody's confessionals forewarn what happens to him in the episode, even though it's pretty obvious that he's going home once you see him in the full body cast. It left me with suspense the first time I watched, wondering, what the heck happened to Cody? Owen being a hunter and chasing after DJ was funny as well, but the best part about Paintball Deer Hunter was the in-team fighting from the Gophers. Heather's torment starts from the beginning of the episode all the way to the end, with her annoying everyone in her alliance as well as a passerby Lashana who ends up shooting Heather by accident. By the time someone on the Killer Bass team can finally locate the four, they've already engaged in a paintball war against themselves, perfectly encapsulating how poorly everyone on the Screaming Gophers gets along. Worst part goes to Cody's elimination. I know bro's injured beyond recognition, and Cody hasn't been exactly doing much for the last couple of episodes challenge-wise, but I was super shocked that they didn't boot Heather in this episode when they had no reason not to, adding another notch to the belt of Heather somehow managing to evade elimination. Number 10, If You Can't Take the Heat. Call me predictable, but this episode's team interactions are, again, the best part to me. Not only are the Gophers going at it again, with people getting allergic reactions, crushed by oranges, locked in the freezer, and stung by bees, but inverse to that, we have the Killer Bass working so well together that they have time to troll Harold the whole time about his dirty undies, and somehow still win the challenge by a landslide. As for the worst part, almost gave it to the Screaming Gophers letting Owen of all people watch the food, but I'm gonna sound like a broken record again. This episode's elimination. Yet another case of Heather being saved by the bell, and this time they should have at the very least split the final vote between Heather and Owen. Say what you want about Beth's curse, but I don't think that was affecting the team nearly as bad as the rivalry that everyone had with Heather. Number 11, Who Can You Trust? A solid episode overall. There weren't too many specific parts that stood out and were exceptional. I'd have to split it in between the stunt double joke. I don't know why, but that one always gives me a belly laugh, especially watching bro try to sneak out in the background like, Chris, you're such a phony. And Duncan being a good guy by getting DJ a new bunny. I know it's not much, but it's a sweet moment. Worst part, Sadie's elimination. Already knew that. You'd think because Sadie's such a nothing burger of a character, it'd bring me great joy when she finally gets eliminated. Well, not really. The bonfire ceremony doesn't do much for me considering it's between Sadie and Harold actually won his challenge. And if it couldn't get any more unfulfilling, the episode ends with the most ear-splitting shrill I've ever heard. Number 12, Basic Straining. One of the top 5 episodes of all time. It's got the action, it's got the drama, it's got the plot twist of the century. We have a 4-way tie between Chef as Master Chief. He's the perfect drill instructor for this gauntlet style challenge. There's also the Michael Jackson dance scene, which has nothing to do with anything else in the episode. Like, it's such a non sequitur, bro. I love it. Thirdly, we have Dunkney, the best Total Drama Island couple, and you can quote me on that one, with some really sweet moments. Duncan manages to be the only person who can pull Courtney from being a stone cold CIT to a crazily laughing mess. And lastly, but not leastly, Harold sabotaging Courtney. My gosh. I know this is a very controversial moment. This episode is what separates the Courtney fans and Harold fans because of the question of whether or not Courtney deserved to be kicked off unfairly, but I'm sorry, Total Drama is a cutthroat show. And with all the ways that they were terrorizing Harold in this episode specifically, yeah, Duncan more than got what he deserved. Morals aside, Harold had an underhanded play and I'll applaud him for it. He'll get so much applause, in fact, that I don't have any worst moments from this episode. It was a gem from start to finish. Number 13, Extreme Torture. Best moment? Come on, we all know what it is. I don't think I should have to say it. It's the reason why Total Drama-Rama was a horrible idea, like this show was never meant for children. If that answer's too obvious, my number 2 pick would have to be Harold and Lashana. Top 5 most unlikely Total Drama couples ever. Seriously, what is this episode, dude? It's so insane. Harold's speech about boobies, Harold writing some kind of freaky love poems we never get to see. It's all so much, dude. And you wanna know what else is too much? The damn censorship. Why did they censor the word boobies for Harold?
Booyah. Booyah.
Only to have him say it later,
You guys saw boobies.
along with Bridget,
You saw boobies?
just to censor it again.
Whose chest did you see?
America, Cartoon Network, y'all suck. Number 14,
The brunch of disgustingness.
Not sure if this is a hot take, but I don't really like this gross out episode. Call me a purist, I know. Fortunately, or unfortunately for me, depending on how you slice it, the series would get way worse with its levels of gross out. So this eating challenge is honestly on the tamer side of the spectrum. Be that as it may, I couldn't really find a moment that I liked about the brunch of disgustingness. I'll tell you what I didn't like though. For one, the ruling system in this challenge is so weird. What I mean is, sometimes the challenge will be done when all players take a bite of their meal, sometimes it's over when one person eats all of their meal, sometimes it's over when everyone eats their meal entirely. It's super inconsistent. And speaking of the meals, holy god, this episode is gross. Obviously, I know that's the point of the episode, to be gross, but considering this is a reward challenge and it doesn't have many interesting moments aside from the challenge, it doesn't give me much of a reason to come back and watch this whilst I'm combing through the season. Number 15, no pain, no gain. Fresh off the heels of one of my least favorite episodes of the season, we get another one of my favorites. There's quite a few awesome moments here. We have the return of Eva, the ex-camper with the force to bring a Sasquatch down. As dumb as it was that Eva focused her efforts on Bridget despite DJ, Duncan, and Jeff also probably voting for her as well, the tension of having her be the strong villain to beat in this challenge was perfect. The scene of everyone chanting for a bee-covered Bridget to give Eva a face-to-face meeting with Sasquatch, only for Eva to come out wearing that MFR like it was Gucci, priceless. I love the scene of Chris airing all the confessionals as well. It's so messy on Chris's part, but it's such a hilarious scene where we get to see some silly lines that show us exactly where everyone's head is at come elimination time. There's also Izzy, just Izzy, bro. But my favorite part of this episode is just the creativity of the no pain, no gain challenge. My favorite three has to be the marshmallow facial, the turtle slap shot, and the Russian bear log roll that Lashana beats to win the challenge. My only problem with this episode is just Eva getting brought back only to be booted yet again. I know Eva's shtick of being a female powerhouse will be brought back and done way better by future Total Drama characters, but it's still disappointing to see her return here and get hyped up as a potential new villain just to get voted out immediately. Number 16, search and do not destroy. Best part of this episode, the Gwent drama. The drama part in Total Drama will always have me coming back for more. And as stupid as Heather has been concerning her openness to being, you know, the worst person in the world, she cooked with this play. It was pretty ballsy considering she didn't know whether she was going to have immunity or not, but it was pretty damn entertaining watching her lie to Trent through her teeth. And speaking of Trent, for the worst part, is it just me or has he been gone all season? Gwent is far from being an unenjoyable couple, but it feels like Trent has been noticeably absent thus far in the season. In the last episode, they referenced the events of Phobia Factor, like Gwen getting buried happened recently, but that was episode 8 compared to 15. In between that time, Trent has been crushed by oranges, poisoned by a blowfish, pushed out a plane to his death, and barfing up his intestines from bull testicles. Oh, sorry, bull meatball. It feels like we barely get to spend any time with Gwen, like they get together for all of 2 seconds in this episode. Number 17, hide and be sneaky. One of my favorite episodes that I wasn't expecting to love so much upon rewatch. Best part of this episode by far are Izzy and Lindsay, the former starting her series-wide personal beef with Chef, which would only escalate over time, and the latter having plenty of funny one-liners and horrible hiding spots to keep me entertained.
This isn't even my bunk.
I also love the guys alliance and their role in this episode, even though the alliance wouldn't see much usage past this point. As much as I think Bridget is a cool character, her elimination in this episode felt so right. The girls being unable to cooperate and vote together while they had the numbers meant that Bridget got tanked in the end. I'm right with Chris when he said that he was shocked even though he knew the answer. Couldn't find a worse part for this episode, it was just really solid. Number 18, that's off the chain. Okay, we all know what the most iconic moment is in this episode, so allow me to stall for a bit. The challenge here is awesome. I love the premise of having to build a bike along with all the twists and turns of having to ride each other's bikes. The dudes telling their best wipeout stories is such a vibe too. I remember back in COVID times when I accidentally got my foot caught in my back tire and shredded my foot skin off. Izzy and Lashana's side quest is super hilarious too. Lashana should have known better than to trust Psycho Izzy with her bike. This is the same girl who gave herself a poison ivy spa treatment and eats raw fish heads for fun, by the way. But of course, the best part of this episode was Lindsay's crash out, up there with Harold's beatboxing and Heather's as one of the most recognizable scenes in the entire show. But even so, the logic behind Lindsay getting eliminated was so bogus, dude. I'm not even mad at the fact that Heather got invincibility off of Lindsay, she got played fair and square. What's stupid is that there were 2 people in the last race who didn't place, 3 people who wiped out in the first race, and 2 people who never competed at all. And somehow Lindsay still got the short end of the stick. What if, hypothetically, Lindsay wiped out in the piranha pool and never crossed? Who would be in the sudden death zone then? Secondly, and this will hopefully be the last example of censorship in this video, video. But this has to be the most egregious display of censorship I've ever seen on Total Drama. No way they cleaned up Lindsay's censored cuss-filled rant with actual words that not only ruin the impact of the rant, but it's just the same voice line repeated 3 times and mixed in poorly.
No good, selfish, lying little. No good, selfish.
Heather's a total.
No good, selfish.
Just let the girl fake cuss, damn it. Number 19, hook, line, and screamer. I love how everyone is having their own reactions to the movie, but Jeff is just sitting there dumbfounded and confused. Anyway, the best part of this episode has to be the challenge. They nailed the horror tropes on this one. You got the couple who's making out, the 2 scary movie lovers who seem to know everything once the killer's officially on the loose, the bratty girl who goes off alone, and there's plenty more fun moments once Chef goes out to hack them all to pieces. Also, this voice line from Gwen always gets me.
Okay, you know what? I'm getting a sandwich.
Because it has the same energy as this scene from Death Note.
I'll take a potato chip and eat it.
But this episode would also mark the end of DJ in what's a pretty convoluted elimination. I know that DJ did technically bail before Chef got to him, but the rules of the challenge seem pretty unclear from the jump. Number 20, Wawanakwa Gone Wild. This episode's title feels like it should be more fitting for the Heather scene from that other episode, but it could just be me. I could just be being wild myself. You guys might not agree with me on this one, but my favorite part has always been seeing Gwen and Izzy in the final 2. I don't know why, but seeing Gwen and Izzy look wildly at each other like it isn't obvious who's getting eliminated never ceases to crack me up, especially after Izzy shot Heather in the butt with a tranquilizer, which was my second favorite part of the episode. Worst part, Heather evading elimination yet again. I'm sorry dude, but after the nonsensical way that DJ got booted and the elimination in the next couple of episodes, you really start to notice how Heather slithers her way to the finals uncontested. They had no issue canning Cody when he was injured, like just get Heather out of there already. Number 21, Trial by Tri-Armed Triathlon. Honorable mention to this joke.
Ever since I was little, I've always felt like no one really listens to what I have to say. I'm a person who feels things deeply.
Owen, no offense, but I really don't care.
But the best part of this episode were the team dynamics as well as the challenge. This episode is one of the most underrated in my opinion. Put some underutilized duos to the friendship test, other than Duncan and Lashana who'd return in action. I can't even remember the last time Jeff and Gwen hung out as intimately as they do here. Shoot, I can remember Jeff acting callously more times than I can remember them having another good time. It was really sweet to see Gwen's brooding exterior break down. It's super rare that a guy and a girl in Total Drama have a genuinely cute moment without the two hooking up or getting caught in relationship drama. Hello Gwent, hello Gwunkin, and hello Heather sneaking by elimination yet again. Now if this show had the jury, like the original Survivor did, aka the show that Total Drama is parodying, it would make sense for them to get rid of Jeff because he's too nice. Because the finale is literally a popularity contest, meaning people like Jeff or Owen will be primed for the picking. But that's not what the season's finale was at all. In fact, the episode where they chose to let the losers pick something was actually number 22, Hot Capture, also known as After the Dock of Shame, which is a far more appropriate title. Now this episode is infamous for all the wrong reasons. It's basically just a recap of the season thus far, with our eliminated campers talking about how they lost or who they'd want to win. You'd think this episode would fall under the filler label, but because of the ending, aka the worst part of the episode and the most unfair elimination to date, Hot Capture is a bittersweet experience without the sweetness. It's more like Splenda level sweetness, like you can tell that there's something fake about it. Before I harp on the worst part, let's quickly get through the best part of the episode. Honorable mention to Courtney rightfully going psycho over Harold and smacking the dog out of Zeke.
I got kicked off from the first.
But I think the best part was just watching all the different character interactions. Noah has a lot of funny lines, Izzy has a lot of funny lines, Justin has no lines at all. It's a good time. But yeah, we already knew what the worst part was, just put it on screen. Rest in peace to Lashana, bro. To make this bit of the video more interesting, I did some deeper research into what the hell the writers were thinking when they wrote off Lashana the way that they did. I was getting a lot of Reddit fan theories instead of direct answers, with the most accepted theory being that Lashana's VA was sick, so they had to write her out, which had me very skeptical, just like the Lindsay allegations from Total Drama Action. So to keep from getting some concerned comments, seriously, you guys were hot on my case for the Lindsay VA thing. I knew it was a concrete, that's why I said apparently. Though I will admit that's on me for not being more explicit with my wording. Anyway, I finally found a tweet from Todd Kaufman, a character designer and director who worked on Total Drama's first 4 seasons, and he says, yeah, so in the original outline, Lashana gives her invincibility to Gwen thinking that she'll vote vote Heather off. In the end, Gwen flops and votes Lashana off. Heather says anyone who'd give their invincibility away deserves to lose. Heather wins. Now, without the original outline or episode in question, which was changed for unknown reasons, Kaufman believed it might have been due to being too production heavy, we don't have enough to really know if this version of Hot Camp Sure would have been better. Honestly, I think it would have been super out of character for Gwen to flip on Lashana, unless maybe she wanted to get back at her for accidentally getting Trent booted. It's a stretch for sure. In my opinion, it would have made more sense to have Duncan be the one that wins and have him flip on Lashana. He already proved that he had no loyalty to his team or alliances, case in point Bridget and Jeff's eliminations, and he doesn't have the same attachment to Lashana as Gwen does, being that the two weren't on a team together all season. Double plus, 2 episodes prior, we already established that Duncan was trying to get on Heather's good side. He's been playing strategic all season. If it came down to a popular vote, which it didn't this season, that wouldn't come until Action's finale, I'm sure Duncan could rally up more votes against Heather than he could against Lashana. The actual episode's outcome is especially stupid because in regular Survivor, the ex-contestants would be put in a jury where they'd vote for who they want to win. I'm not mad that they repurposed this concept for something else. Obviously, they don't have to copy everything Survivor did since this is a parody show, but they couldn't have picked a worse character to be eliminated this way. It's already been talked to death about Lashana having the guts and the willpower to win TDI if this rigged episode didn't exist, so I'll leave my rant for another day. All in all, this episode could have been cool, but what we got instead were some cool laughs followed by the worst elimination in Total Drama history. And you want to know what episode has a close second? Number 23, Camp Castaways. I'm just gonna say it, this is a boring episode. Not quite as bad as Brunch of Disgustingness, but at least that episode has an identity. The only thing I can muster up for the best part is some of the comedic bits were funny. Watching Gwen, Duncan, and Heather argue circles around each other made me wonder about an alternate reality where Owen got booted fourth. But otherwise, the lack of any real plot or challenge makes this one such a slog to get through. I remember seeing the elimination ceremony for the first time and thinking, are they just gonna vote now? Like they did nothing the entire episode. And the less said about Mr. Coconut, the better. Number 24, Are We There Yeti? Best part of the episode, again, Chef hosting the challenge. He was a gem in basics training and he's hilarious here as well. I love how he even does the intro for this episode and he doesn't call anyone by their actual names.
Meanwhile, the chubby one, the gruesome chick, built a raft for her and the delinquent, which left Alpha Girl to fend for herself.
Worst part of this episode, the pacing. Not sure what it was with these last 3 episodes, but the plot and humor were just not as tight as they were near the middle of the season. This is arguably the best and most deserving Final 4, but I don't know, the challenge and pacing of this episode just didn't really do it for me. It wasn't outrageously bad. I think the non-elimination episodes, not counting the first, and Hot Camp Sure were worse comparatively, but Are We There Yeti was just kind of boring to me. Number 25, I Triple Dog Dare You. The penultimate challenge proves to be the best challenge in the season. This episode rivals Brunch of Disgustingness for the nastiest Total Drama Island viewing experience. I love how the dares just immediately start gross with Heather? I love how the dares just immediately start gross with Heather having to lick Owen's armpit, and they continue to escalate. Even with the show being 20-something years old, I still wince at watching Owen chew Harold's crusty old gum, or Gwen drinking out of the toilet. And the comedic timing of Heather saying she'll do anything to win, followed by Owen just laid out on a platter, always kills me. Like that shit really put her on life support after. The ending is a classic scene as well. Rewatching this season made me realize how much plot armor season 1 Heather had. I love the theory that the producers were cheating to keep her around for ratings, because how else do you evade elimination that many times? But watching Heather get pummeled for challenge after challenge only to get her head shaved and lose anyway, karmic justice never fails. Couldn't think of a worse part other than shock and intrigue over who the hell dared Owen to get in the diaper. Some of these challenges just be the writer's unhinged fetishes at full display, like I'm on to y'all. Number 26, the very last episode, really. You guys might think I'm weird for this one, but my favorite part of this finale was the peanut gallery. Never again would Total Drama bring back all the ex-contestants and let them be this hands-on in the final challenge. Sure, you have the times where some characters were allowed to be helpers, like in World Tour or All Stars or Pacateo, but it feels like all the non-finalists get to have their own funny moments in addition to Owen and Gwen. And speaking of, the canon winner to me will always be Gwen. As interesting as it is for Total Drama to have 2 winners, I firmly believe that Gwen was more deserving than Owen. That's just my personal opinion though. Bro had the likability to float into the finals, but him beating Gwen in a foot race don't make me laugh. And speaking of the foot race, this might be another controversial take, but Island probably has my least favorite finale in terms of the actual challenge. Dare I say, it's kind of boring, especially compared to the gauntlet that came before this one. Maybe I should do a video where I rank every Total Drama finale. Let me know in the comments below. And with that, that's the best and worst part of every episode of Total Drama Island. Well, except for the special, but I'm not really counting that since it's a special, and because I'm lazy. If you have to know, my favorite part of that episode was seeing Noah, Izzy, and Eva. Never again would we have seen a more random and hilarious posse. Total Drama Island was pretty much as good as I remember it being. Heather dodging eliminations left and right got pretty annoying in the second half, but the comedy in slow burn hasn't aged a day since the show's original run back in 2007. If I had to rate this season amongst the ones I've already reviewed, I think I'd put Island at number 1. The bad episodes are pretty tame, and even with some of the more BS eliminations near the back end of the show, the plots and humor managed to hold up well. But yeah, if you guys want to see me cover more Total Drama seasons like this, or heck, even just regular shows like this, let me know. Now, if you guys will excuse me, I have to get back to work on a very secret project.